I will yield to the ranking member, and we can maybe pick it up on the next round. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I ask unanimous consent to be able to submit to the hearing record 3 letters that were sent by ranking members Takano, Blumenthal, Budzinski, and myself over the course of October, November, and December. Thank you. Ms. Devlin, VA has received these letters. Mr. Smith testified at our last hearing on December 2nd that Education Services passed up responses to these letters, at least to the first 2. Last night at 5:45, we received a letter in response that frankly didn't answer many of the core questions that were asked in these letters. I also know that the Secretary is well aware of the issue because Ranking Member Takano has spoken to him directly on a couple of occasions in October and November. So it would have been great to have the information that we requested in full before this hearing, and I find it hard to accept that anything other than the administration is deliberately ignoring our outreach and trying to either hide or avoid addressing this issue. The Secretary missed multiple deadlines to get us that information, and VA has also failed to communicate directly to beneficiaries and to the general public. So, Ms. Devlin, why is that? Were you or Mr. Smith directed not to talk to Congress and not to respond in writing to our requests?
No, sir. Thank you for the question. We were not directed, so.
Well, so what is responsible for the delay then?
We apologize for the delay. We did work on getting those responses, and I understand that they were delinquent, and we apologize for the delay.
So
I can't speak to the process delays that resulted in it taking so long, and I can only just share my apology for that.
So do you appreciate what we heard from Mr. Smith, that responses were being formulated and passed up? And
Yes.
Is there a reason why this information wasn't communicated to Congress?
The process of developing a response involves detailed reviews of data because there were a lot of questions with those, and we needed to make sure the data was accurate. There were concurrence processes that went into place before the letter could be submitted.
I hope you can see the problem here.
I do.
Where we're totally in the dark on this, trying to find breadcrumbs, whether it's through VSOs or through veterans themselves that we represent that are reaching out to our offices, and we're just trying to get answers and get information. And I think we're owed that on behalf of the American people. So who is the approval authority to send out information to beneficiaries and to Congress, and why have they limited it so drastically in this instance?
It was not our intent to limit communication to veterans, other beneficiaries, or to Congress. We did provide some briefings to the 4 corners of the Hill, and we did send out some communications to students. Unfortunately, we didn't realize the magnitude of the problem and how significant it would be before the shutdown happened and during the lapse in appropriations.
So who makes the call on that, though?
We determine the content of the communications that need to go out to beneficiaries and to stakeholders. And then there is a departmental process for review and concurrence of those and issuing those communications.
So you can't give us a name or put a finer point on that, on who we should be talking to with respect to the lack of communication over 4 months?
I would say it's a joint effort between VBA. I'm the highest executive at VBA, so I would be the last person who sees anything before it goes out. And then again, at the department, there's review and approval processes.
I appreciate the position you're in, but someone's got to take responsibility for this, which is why we were asking for a Senate-confirmed appointee to be here at this hearing today. Now, you referenced the briefing. There was one that was scheduled for October 1st. It was canceled. And during the government shutdown, Congress received only form responses when trying to contact VA for information or to conduct casework for constituents suffering from some of the financial hardship that I referenced in my opening statement. So were you, VA Education Services, or VA's congressional liaisons directed not to communicate with Congress?
We were bound by requirements of what we can and cannot do during a lapse in appropriations, but I will say we took inquiries directly from beneficiaries, from VSOs, and from schools. I got emails directly, so did Mr. Smith, and when there was a financial concern, also through Ask VA, we were monitoring those, and if there was a financial emergency, we were handling that situation immediately and communicating with those beneficiaries.
So, I have limited time here, but in terms of the plan of furloughing staff, who approved the plan and why was it out of line with the guidance that the White House had actually issued?
The contingency plan the VA had was in alignment with prior contingency plans for which types of work could be considered accepted and which types of work had to be furloughed.
And who had the signature authority required to bring back the user acceptance testing group from furlough which was a key issue with respect to the digital GI benefit update.
We worked on that as something new that we hadn't dealt with before in VA and worked with our attorneys to get clearance on that process.
Well, I've got a number of additional questions. Again, incredibly frustrated with the way that Congress has been stonewalled here. We and the American people and the veteran community deserves answers, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ranking Member.